Hi, my name is Atipa Mabonga. I'm on the women's track and field team and I'm a senior.
Hello, my name is Avery Pennywell. I'm a junior. I was on the men's tennis team for the past 2 years.
Hi, I'm Bri Tollie. I'm a junior and I am on the women's basketball team.
My name is Raysun Kazadi. I'm on the football team.
I'm Sam Westfall, and I'm on the football team as well.
I'm Will Brown. I'm on the football team and I'm a
My name is Bowland. I'm a senior and I'm on the women's soccer team.
So the first question is, if you could, you know how like hashtag Black at SMU blew up, right? If you could tweet hashtag Black athlete at SMU, what would you tweet?
It's almost like, I don't know what I would tweet, but it's like a feeling of tokenism. Like you got a key that maybe other people can't get into just because they're not as, like people don't see them as much or like not easily recognizable. Like, oh, that's an athlete. Oh, he plays football. Maybe you should come do this, this, and this with our group. So I guess it's like hashtag, Black athlete at SMU is having the key, but not seeing others get to use the same ones as you. Like not like seeing, not being, having the feeling of not having, having the feeling of not being able to take people with you, like in a sense, like knowing that you're the exception. And almost like not like a narcissistic way, but in a way that's like kind of disheartening. Like it's like you're looking in the face, but you don't know what you can do about it.
I've had my idea about this has like evolved over the time I've been here. At first, like if you asked me that question like 6 months after I've been here, it would have been like underappreciated, I would have said, just because of the student body in the sense of how I felt they perceived me or whatever. But as time went on, it kind of aligned with how Ra just explained, and I don't know, it makes me feel like I'm a part of like an exclusive group, and I feel special to be a part of that group in a sense.
It's like a weird special though, right? It's like
Yeah.
not like a split. It's like a nasty special. Like it feels
You understand like your place within the whole student body of like SMU, but I don't really know. It's weird how to explain it.
Like walking on eggshells, kind of. Like you can't overstep your bounds. Like it's like you stay in your student athlete box, like hang out, drink a little bit, like just chill, but don't be black people.
That's why these conversations are kind of like difficult for me to like have and stuff. Being on SMU campus and like speaking out about it is because of that feeling of like you're walking on eggshells. Like you can't really step too much outside of what you think is okay by being on campus and like thinking about how other people view you or whatnot. But I don't know. It still feels like special in a way because eyes are on you whenever you go around somewhere just because you're different.
Yeah. Okay, she basically said, can y'all speak up a little bit? Cool. Yeah. Does anyone else?
I think to add on to that, I would say hashtag being Black at SMU is hard. Because like you guys are saying, you have to find that balance of being your everyday student here and excelling, but then you're a student athlete and there's expectations of you have to excel in your sports, but then you have to continue excelling when there's a global pandemic going on and all of the stuff happening in this year. It's like, it generally is hard. And there's so much going on that you also have to juggle, but you can't, like you're saying, you can't be blatantly black, you can't express it because we're at SMU, so you have to keep this boundary. And,
You must accept to be accepted.
Right.
Yeah, that's a good way of it.
What did you say? I'm sorry.
You have to excel to be accepted in school and also in your respective sport. Because if you don't do those two things, then you'll see what happened to like the SMU football team for over 30 years. Like nobody really cared. Nobody went to the games. Nobody talked about it or anything of that nature. So if you're not doing, operating at like the highest capacity in whatever you're doing at SMU, then you kind of just get forgotten.
Yeah, we're in the get better business, as they say. How do you guys say it? It's like they always say like, hey, you're gonna get better business. You're gonna get better business. It's like you don't have a chance to fail. And if you can fail, but you gotta come back better than that. You can't just don't get that day off. They say winners are always working. So if
Yeah.
you're winning, you're always working. You're always working. You don't get those days off. You're not gonna get that Thanksgiving break and after off. You're not gonna get that December off. Like you've gotta grind that out. And at the same time, you're dealing with the problems everybody else is dealing with. You're going through the pandemic. You're seeing, you know, black bodies harmed and weaponized on social media. Like you see what's going on in Nigeria, Congo is bleeding. You're seeing all this and you still have to excel. You're not allowed to make, you know, a D- in that class. Like even if you do, that means you gotta be better on the field. Somewhere, if you're messing up somewhere, you have to excel somewhere else.
Yeah. That's heck of pressure. Which I suspected, honestly. That kind of leads me to my next question, which is, do you feel, and let me say some of these questions you can pass on, but we want you to be as honest as you can. That did sound dangerous, but it's not meant to be dangerous. None of the questions are like, Bri, I classified Bri all the questions, so we took out all the ones that were too controversial. Do you feel like SMU adequately repays you for your work? Especially because they make money off of your work. Like, what do you feel?
That's like talking about the NCAA in a whole. Of course, like if you talk about the NCAA in a whole, as like the whole organization of it, then you can say that we're not adequately being like repaid for whatever we're doing. But SMU, like personally, like my experiences within like the athletic staff and just everybody that we deal with, I would say yes. Like I've had a great experience here through all of them, and it really it's able to feel like I'm able to find a home within like the athletic program rather than like the whole entire school itself. So I feel adequate. Yeah. Hey.
Well, why didn't you say no?
Just like we just talked about the last question, all the time we put in and all the pressure and challenges we face outside of just playing in that sport. And really it's not, it don't feel like we're fulfilling everything we put into, you know what I'm saying? Like, let's say we win the national championship, after that we still gotta go back to school. And see like everybody, like no offense, like there's a lot of white people here. And they would not, they could not compare to anything that I do. Like we have different backgrounds and there's no sense of culture here, I'll say also.
Yeah.
There's a whole bunch of it.
Even to add on to that, like when we do, speak out on like, when we try to compare like that.
No, Bri, I just read your shirt. Okay, keep going. I'm dead.
People when you try to compare like the regular student body to the student athletes, and when we do speak out, they take it as being ungrateful. We did all this stuff for you to get here, but not taking the fact that we had to work our asses off to get here. And it's like, you guys couldn't live a day about, what we go through on a daily basis. Like, you're talking about, like, daily mental health problems you gotta, think about. You gotta think about, like, when you have, like, a bunch of assignments, but you're traveling around. That is a lot, You have the luxury of staying up till 2 o'clock in the morning, knowing that you ain't got practice the next morning, but I can't do that. And it's like,
Not you adding me.
oh, no,
I feel bad. It's okay though.
I'm just saying, it's really, once you, I just think, as an athlete, it's really, although you may find balance, but it's always hard to, stay on that balance, because it's just too much going on at one time, so.
It's like, Benny the Butcher said it like this, I was listening to his album over, he was like, walk a mile in my shoes, but I'm wearing Shaq socks. Like you can't, it's hard for you, you literally can't do it. Like if you try, you'll fail, you'll leave. Like guys that walk on, like they'll come in and they'll come out 2 weeks later. Like it's like, no, it's not into it.
Yeah.
And like historically, the NCAA has denied the rights of that intergenerational wealth for black people because you're not getting paid for the work that you're giving. Like you're not getting the money from what you're producing for the university. You're not getting that. So yeah, there is a denial there, but SMU itself, I feel like SMU does its best. Like, especially the coaches we have right now, and Rick Hart, like, we meet with him on weekly, and he's always like, hey, what else can we do? What else can we do? What else can we do? Is there anything else we can do? You're like, yo, Rick, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
David, like, we're telling you everything. And like, he's like, yo, we'll get you a black mental health professional, we'll get you financial literacy classes, we'll get you this, we'll get you this. And he's super accommodating, and he's really with us. Like, it's cool to have an administration who, he's really understanding, and he's really there for us, in spite of, like, you know, like I said, the NCAA is obviously not very there. They can, we can put a patch on our jersey, we can do any of that, but at the end of the day, are you really, like, are you where your mouth is? Like,
That low key makes me, ooh, I'm sorry. I'm gonna just throw this next question out there and then you can say what you're gonna say. Cause that made me think of like, when we asked for black mental health professionals and we asked for all these services and we basically did deny, but that's fine. But there is like talk about divide between the black community at SMU and the black athlete community at SMU. And like, okay, so it's obvious, right? Consensus. Like, but why?
well, look, everything, like, the way I see it is like, we're all inclusive. Like, anything that we do is so that everybody can have it. Like, obviously, somebody has to take that first step.
Yeah.
If we have a black mental health professional, it's in the same building everybody goes to.
Facts.
Like, we're putting it everywhere. Anything that we're doing is for everyone. And that's like, that's something I'll stand on. Like, I'm not like, if we're excluding anybody, we're not helping anyone. And like, that divide also comes from like, maybe, like, we can't, at the end of the day, we can't make everything. We barely make the stuff we're supposed to make. Like, shit, we gotta cancel our classes. We gotta fly, like, Tulane was on a Friday game. I missed like 3 classes. And my teacher's like, oh, why'd you make a like bad grade on this test? I'm like, man, I had 2 days to study. So, and it's like, yeah, you're trying your hardest and you're like, you're succeeding. But at the same time, everything is still like, oh, well, why aren't you doing this better? Why aren't you doing this better? Why didn't you make this play? Why didn't you like turn this assignment in on time? It's like, well, I was 3 states away. Like, I came back that same night.
Right.
And it's just like adding up, and maybe you don't get to make every event, but we would love to. I don't think there's one person here who's like, no, we're just not gonna go.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like, am I gonna do this assignment, or am I gonna go to the what is it, the black ball, right? The black excellence ball.
Yep.
Like, I've been looking at that for 2 years. Like, oh yeah, that'd be super cool to go to. But it's like, oh yeah, like it's either we have a game or we just spring game. Can't wait.
Are you talking like
It
socially?
was, yeah, I'm talking in general, but like socially too.
So,
I mean, you know.
to change like
Also,
the
can
point
you,
of view,
even if the frame is fucked up, like scoot it towards the mic sport? Yeah.
to change like the point of view of like the divide between black athletes and then black students at SMU, it's really like the time constraints of it too. Like, we have a lot of other things that we're focused on and that we're doing on a daily basis that doesn't really allow us to be that social with the student body in general. You know what I'm saying? We don't have the ability to be able to like go out and do certain things that they might be doing, and especially during COVID, the pandemic. But I think because of COVID, it's allowed all of us to really come together on one certain aspect of like what's going on in our world right now. So with that, I think that we're making strides in being able to do that, especially with the committee that we're a part of, trying to, with the black student athletes, trying to make a change within SMU for like all minority groups and all people, and actually in reality. So
And no one's saying that students aren't doing anything. No one's saying that black students or the white students aren't doing as much as student athletes are doing. Like, you might be in a bunch of clubs, you might be in this, but like, at the end of the day, it's different. Everybody's gonna do a different thing. Like, the physical toll you have, and you have the school, then you might also be in a couple of clubs, like for example, Bri's like at 8 or whatever he said. She's doing extra. But like, at the end of the day, it's super different, and it's hard to be there for everybody. I think it's hard to like add that extra group to be a part of it. Go ahead, what you saying?
You said black community at SMU?
Like like us and between the black
I really
students.
see y'all.
With-
Like, to be honest with you, I feel like the whole place is segregated.
Yeah, and that's the problem
Athletes
too,
is
is like,
over here.
where are we? Oh, there's only 6 of us, so it's like, how do you find 6 students in a sea of like 100?
I
That's
always feel
that.
like, it always feels like we're on like a whole different another island from everybody else. And even within the athletic community, it kind of feels like we're divided amongst each other, amongst our teams.
Especially now,
Yeah, and so like,
Yeah. So you don't feel like there's a constraint from SMU
Oh, no.
to make sure that you're isolated from others.
No, there's
No.
not
Well, maybe if you wanna use like tautology, and say that because we have practices and because we're looking at certain times, because we have to go to the state hall, they're forcing us to have this division, but I don't think that that's like that, cause that's like that.
That's right. Everyone. That's like it. Like if they're trying to separate from anybody's, like I don't think it's like a specific group or anything.
They talk about it all the time.
Yeah. Like
Stay
yeah.
away from them.
Stay away from everybody. Yeah, especially right now. Like
You don't know what they're up to.
Hey, if you see a cute girl, walk away from her. Like turn the other way. Like you're like, what's that? It's like.
Did the cameras catch that? Okay. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know if it's candid honest. Like, you know, or we see
So-
whatever. Yes.
Do you feel, okay, this is a question from our black women in the group. Wait, I don't know the question. So, do you feel as a black athlete and a woman on campus, like there's equity among you versus maybe men versus maybe students? Like, what is that experience like? Yeah. Did you scoop it up?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna do some more while we're like having fun.
Yeah, I ain't heard from my women. Y'all over here okay.
Like, do we feel equal or like?
Yeah, I mean, do you feel, the question was, do you feel equal, but also like, what is your experience, you know, as a black woman?
So like when I first came here, I was the only black girl on the team. Like there was nobody. Oh, they're all white. There's maybe like 3 or 4 like Hispanics and that was it. So like looking into that in and of itself was already a shock because I already felt like I was separated from my team, like your family, like because you're supposed to like be connected to this. So like that struggle in and of itself was already hard, and like I already felt like I was at a disadvantage. And coming from like a JUCO, like you already have that label on. You're like, oh, JUCO players might not be, because I was the first one to even come to the soccer program from a JUCO in the first place. So that, and then being, half black, doesn't help the situation. And so fitting into that culture was probably one of the hardest things I had to do since coming here 2 years ago. And so looking at it in the aspect of being in school also was even harder because I didn't realize how white SMU was until I actually got here. Because like I'm not
like any of us did.
like I'm from Oregon, like I come from a very diverse high school and stuff like that. So coming here, it was like a shock. I felt like a minority for the first time in my life coming here. Simply because of the fact that it was so white, I was so like shook by it. I was like, oh wow, like there's really not a lot of like black students, Hispanic, Asian, whatever, And so in that sense, it was just hard to find like a true balance, and like for a split second, I did kind of lose my identity. I was just like there was nowhere for me to really feel comfortable with myself and comfortable with other people that I could trust and confide in, because like nobody was really like me. I didn't really find like other people until later on. I didn't really find the black community until really this year.
Yeah.
And so that part of it aspect, yeah, it was hard. Like, and it like for like the first question we had about like the hashtag being black athlete at SMU, I really feel like the diversity in SMU comes from athletics. Because if you look at it, more than half the football team is black. Majority of the track team is black. Majority of the basketball team is black. Like, yeah. It's obvious. I'm not saying there isn't other, nationalities and ethnicities that come, but at the same time, you look at it, like, this is where it's coming from. So.
Yeah. Let it be known that in our class, I'm a junior, there is 35 black students that are academic, and then the rest come from athletes. So like when we say we be on an island, like if y'all be on an island, it really be like that.
Yeah. To answer your question as a woman, I was kind of, when I came in, I was kind of expecting, to not have as much as guys, just because of my past experience being at Montgomery Academy. The boys that won the country, and us being, whatever. But when I got here, I can definitely say, like, my coach, he's a black man and everything, and he does what he can to, give us what he can to make us have like a full experience. I can't necessarily say that, especially the boys basketball team, that they have more than us. I think our coach goes like above and beyond to give us, at least try to make us feel equal to, to everyone. So I definitely commend him for that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Atipa, did you?
So I, of course, grew up in New Zealand, and that is a predominantly white country. And so coming to SMU, it wasn't so much of a shock. Like, I knew SMU was going to be predominantly white, but it wasn't so much of a culture shock coming in because I had grown up being the only black student. I had grown up being the only black girl on the track team. So mine was kind of the opposite in the sense that our team is predominantly black females, and it was such a shock being around black females. So I was like, I don't even know how to act. And then I'd go into classes, like I'm an advertising minor, and I'm pretty sure most of my time I was the only black student in that classroom. And we had a change and I know there's numerous other classes where we are the only black students in there, and you almost become that token black person of how you're supposed to act and how you're supposed to behave. So it was finding the balance of, okay, now I'm surrounded by a black community, how do I manage that, and then how do I create it into my classes? And before we had a whole change in coaching stuff, but our sprint coach, Coach Miller, went above and beyond, like women's basketball coach, like Bri was saying, to make sure we were comfortable as females. Because I think as a black female, there's this expectation that you have to have a front on and then you're fine. And then you go through practice, you go through classes and everything doesn't bother you because you're a strong black woman, you're independent and whatever. Yeah. But it's hard, and it's nice to know that you have like your girls, and I have my coaches are like, it's okay. Like you can emotionally, if you're finding it hard to adjust to both, you can. So I find that us as a black female in my track team, we had more emotional support than I feel like you football boys get. Because like I think as a female, like my mental health has probably been looked after so much more since I wanted to take the track team with black girls than if I was probably just like not a black student, or if I was a male. I feel like mental health is probably, I cherish your mental health a little bit more on the track team. So I don't know, I feel like we're equal. I feel like the guys get things that we couldn't get, and we get things that the guys couldn't get. And I can't say like we're not equal because they get whatever and I don't get whatever. I think it's more of a balance, and since we're a community, especially this year, it's kind of like uplifting everybody and making sure that we are one community. We look after each other, and like if Ron needs help in some area and I can provide help in that area, I'm gonna give it. We can give it. And so I feel like we're pretty equal. I think it was definitely a shock coming to SMU and adjusting. But like I'm grateful for this black community that we have established, especially this year, with everything going on. So I don't know if that answers the question.
No, that was lit. Also, that just pointed out like being black is not bad. Like you were nervous about coming and being surrounded by black women, and some people are nervous about the opposite. So.
I got a question. Like I don't know, I've talked to very many black women outside of like my sister about this topic. It's like, do you feel like that myth of like, not myth maybe, but like that expectation of black excellence is harmful to black women especially? Like I feel like it's like you guys are taking on a load that you always take on like more and more, and you're at the front lines of all the protests, you're at the front lines of this. Like, is that like does that take a toll on you? Like the black excellence feeling, or always having to feel like you have to be more, I guess, or you have to be the ones to stand up first? Like, does it seep into your like everyday life kind of?
It's funny because I know I'm going into my own world, after I graduate with clear that I'm white. And so I guess like I know like it does take a toll sometimes, but I know that somebody has to do it, and I know I have to work on myself, and I might as well just work on it now because it's gonna be a lot more ruthless when I get into the world. So I guess like I guess it's not really like somebody got to do it, and I'm glad we're doing it. Yeah.
Do you feel like to go off the clip, do you guys feel like you've become desensitized to it in a sense because it's been just something you've been born into because of how the system was created and whatnot, and that now it's kind of like you shrug it off even though it is something that is very major that you deal with constantly?
Yeah. It's like, you know how they say protect our black queens, right? Like, we can talk about maybe selling, for instance. Like, I'm sorry. Like, they protect our black queens, and now since Torino came out with his thing, Megan's lying, Tori telling the truth, and it's like, huh? Oh, sorry. And so it's like, as a black woman, I just feel like, oh, like we took the end of the stick all the time.
I feel,
But
yeah,
we
that's
carry
something
the
to say.
stick at the same, like,
Yeah,
the thing is, I can only talk from personal experience, is that you have to, I think I carry so much in the sense of everything that's going on, like everything that's happening in Nigeria. My boyfriend is Nigerian, so I see him emotionally carrying everything, but I feel like I'm carrying it. I've been strong for somebody else. And I feel like within, I'm not saying he's not strong enough, but you know what I'm saying? Like I feel like as a black woman, there's this expectation that you go into the track and you kill them on the track, and then you go into the classroom and you smash your grades, and then you like in the front line of the protest, and then you're posting on social media and you're doing all of this stuff, but there's never the point where you're like, I need help. Because it's always like, how are you, what do you need, because you're that black woman who's got it all together, and you're like, everyone's watching Bri, like, what's she gonna do for reset, you know, like, but when you say you have to, who else is gonna do it, I don't think it should be who else is gonna do it, because you have 4 black kings right here who can help you do it, you know, it's not like it's yours to do. And I think girls, especially black girls, have this mentality that like, if no one else is gonna do it, shit, I do it by myself. And if you want something done, you gotta do it by yourself. And of course, it's like productive, you get a lot of things done, but it's definitely very harmful when you convince yourself that you have to get something done. Only you can do it, and only you can support yourself. And I'm not saying you're instructing or not, but I think you're almost expected to do that. But the reality is that like, you can like lean on somebody else, and you can share the lows.
that's why I was gonna say that's a complex question, because you have the patriarchy, which is saying women are caretakers, so we gotta take care, and you're born into that. And then you have, well, the emotional impact of everything that's going on, but women are so strong that they're not gonna say it. So you're taking care of someone else, basically what Atipa said, you're holding a stick, and you're lending it out to someone else. So that's, and then you're talking about protect black women. We're not at all.
Yeah.
So you're putting yourself out for everybody else, and you're not protected in any sense, even by your counterpart black men for the most part.
Yeah, well, okay, I'm sorry to be on the list, but like, I've been reading about this guy from Burkina Faso. He got killed in the revolutionary, but like he was talking about if half of the population isn't like, you know, upheld, kind of has a voice, then, you know, what are we doing here? And I feel like as a black man, I maybe I've been like, you know, I haven't been as active as I should be on that front, but do you feel like where do we speak at a time? You know, it's like, you feel what I'm saying? Like, I understand like lifting up the voice, like on Instagram, you know, like retweeting what black women are saying, here, if they have something to say like about this issue, like, you know, repost it, don't add anything, don't speak for black women, but like, how do we do that in real life? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, how do you how would you retweet somebody in real life?
Because it's a philosophy.
Yeah.
It's in your body.
That's really
Yeah, but you see what I'm saying? Like, without you like taking their words and regurgitating it, like, and if you're a man, you're gonna mansplain their words.
Right.
Period. Like, it's just like, I mean, it's just something you do. But like, yeah, like that's my real question. How can I like take everything you guys said right here and help?
Yeah.
And help in a way like in the same way, in the same helpful manner that you guys did it. Like, not try to add any splash and just do what you said.
Oh, this is y'all's panel.
It's like, yeah, you too, Julia. Like, everybody, I mean, people behind the cameras too. Like, this is a real question.
Because Stacy be going off though.
I feel like.
No, but like, if you have something to say, please. Like, this is me asking.
I feel like it's like.
Because when making these stallions happen, you had a lot to say. Working the camera, don't
I feel like it's like everyday action, bro. Like, you ain't gonna get the results in one day. Like, that's what we was talking about when we was talking about protesting at the beginning of the season. Like, what's the goal? And let's try to reach it, right? And let's work towards it every day. And that's what a lot of people, like black people, for instance, we want results. We need it now. We want this. Like, we need to learn patience in a way. I feel like it's everyday action, and we'll get to that work that people and our ancestors were fighting for. Around here, we can eventually work towards that, but it's just action.
That's the problem.
I mean, I feel like it's being aware of the problem, so you know the problem. Like, for instance, when I asked the first two questions, none of the women said anything. And it's like, being aware of like, oh, she might be giving space to someone unnecessarily because that's like how she feels, so let me back myself up.
Yeah.
And you know what I mean? So it's like a really
There's a
complex
part-
paradigm.
There's a quote saying, I hear it all the time, and I still try to figure out how to phrase it, but it's for when you're in a relationship and having power with somebody, not power over somebody. And I think when some people want to be like, oh, you're in need, let me help you, it's like, let me be above you and I'm helping you. And I don't think black girls even want a man to be above them saying like, I'm gonna help you and I'm gonna tell you how to do it and let me do this for you. It's more, we want power with you guys in something. Because there's so much more power to a balance and unity than saying like, I'm above you, or I'm above you, let me help you. So, but it's like, again, how do you do that? How do you have power with somebody, not power over somebody? So,
That's a reoccurring theme that I've been seeing, and like from when y'all were talking, it was just like there was never that moment when you felt as if you could come forward and ask for help. And I feel like as a black man, that is where we need to be able to give those type of opportunities. Whenever we feel as if you've been being neglected emotionally. And because like we do receive a lot of benefits from that, from y'all providing us strength in the sense of that one situation that you've explained. And like, I think that we need to do a better job of allowing y'all to speak and hear your voices and to actually be heard rather than just like hearing whatever you say and just kind of
Like grow your like yeah, like I don't know, I read you like black women as a woman is impressed. Like 'cause you feel it as a black man, but like being underneath the blanket of white supremacy and like the white like the patriarchy that comes with the white supremacy, like at the same time. Like I don't know how to help you, you know.
Yeah.
Like I don't know. And like do I help you or do I let you do it yourself? Or just not like
I think just being a support. I mean,
Exactly. It would be like what you would say to a white person when they're like, how do I help black people? It's like the same thing. It's like using your privilege to do this, challenging your peers, retweeting resources. It's like all the whole list that we tell white people. It's the same power structure. So it's like, it's just for black men.
and the thing is, like, the thing about you guys is that you guys can actually take on. I'm not take on, but I can't think of the word, but you know, like, you know how there's a certain type of black woman being having an attitude? The black women, you know, when we try to say stuff, we come up being, you know, the mean black woman, right? But you guys don't see that. You guys are actually able to hear what you gotta say and, you know, not take it the wrong way after, you know, there are other men that see it the wrong way as a woman trying to, you know, overstep them and try to take over their pride and stuff like that. And that's like the most annoying thing. It's like, bro, what is your confidence? Like,
yeah, that's kind of what I'm like trying to understand. Like, what are the? I'm sorry if I'm really intriguing like listeners. It's like a bulletproof, like not like I don't need a pamphlet, but like what are those pressure points like where you feel like you're being oppressed? Please, like I'm talking to anyone, you know, like that's like what she said is that's a great point. Like that's like okay, fight that combat like you know mad black women stereotype. And I feel like we talk about that all the time. It's like what are the other ones? Like you know we're like give us more. Like we want to like because like when you see a problem and you see it happening over and over again, it's like frustrating. Like you can't.
I feel like that's too complex to give you a list. Like
and that's
I don't know.
That's
Sometimes
what I'm
like,
trying to tell him.
also, it's a lot of pressure on us.
Yeah, like, right now.
So, yeah.
I've been thinking about it so much.
I'm feeling
That's why-
pressure.
That's another part of the problem with this as well is because this opportunity hasn't been like put out to y'all enough to where that you can actually come forward and give bullet points of whatever it is that has been like that you've been combating with or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Like, and because that's the problem. That's the source of the problem. Because you haven't been able to have these conversations enough. Or been able to have the opportunity to be able to express your emotions and fall on somebody else for a while for support
I would just say, like, for you women, like, it's okay to be emotional. Like, for real.
Not you getting information.
That's what we're saying. Like,
It's
we're
so
like,
weird though, because like I think it's one thing to know like, okay, if I have like a mental breakdown, it's okay. But it's another thing to hear a guy say, you can be emotional, you can break down, you cannot have your shit to get like it's
okay.
nice to like almost hear that, you know?
Like, when I talk to my mom and we talk about stuff like this all the time, and it's okay to like really open up and tell somebody how you feeling. And then of course choose who you want to tell that to. But like that's what's wrong with the world today. Everybody don't trust everybody. Everybody has bias about somebody. Like I can't go down the street and tell this white guy how I'm feeling all the time. But like that's what I feel like that's the first step. People should be able to talk to people about their problems and get help.
I think also like just understanding that people come from different backgrounds. Like I think that's another thing where people be so, you know, ignorant. Like, you know, like me, I didn't call white girl mama wife. Like, and that takes a toll on me because like, I'm not white. I'm all the way black. I'm super black. Okay, and it's like, and it's like, you know, even within like the community, like just accept, you know, we can be ignorant at sometimes. You know, yeah. And it's like. Just because I'm black doesn't mean that I want to see eye for eye with everything that you have. Like, you have to understand that you and me are two different people, but we're fighting the same fight. So it's like, yeah. That's the best way
My
to do
biggest
it.
thing is use your privilege. That's my biggest thing. Like the Tory Lane situation.
Yeah.
Why were black men on like, yeah, Tory, how your age?
That's irritating.
Why? Like,
There were so many other guys like retweeting and being like, yo, Tori, that's BS. Like, no matter what she did, you don't shoot her in her feet. You know what I'm saying? Like, obviously, like, I mean, even if you're drunk.
well, no, we're not doing this.
You know what I'm saying? You can be drunk. Like, I mean, everybody in this room. I not talking about everybody. You've been twisted before. Have you been like, you know? Actually, no, I don't answer that. No, I'm not talking about like, you know, I mean, like, everybody has had one of those nights where they're like out of it, but they're not. Like, yo, at the end of the day, you have to, like, as a black man, you take responsibility for what's going on, and you have to, like, you know, like, being a black man in society is not a hall pass all the time. Like, that's not, like, you know, especially when it comes to harming other people.
It's just derived from the
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm sorry. Like, you can't get shot and be like, he's okay. No, we're not gonna do that. Well, we're not gonna do that.
Is it too, as a woman too? Like,
She did perform the next day though.
Well,
I'm just going to tell you.
She what?
She performed on the stage the next day. I mean,
see struck.
bro.
Can we
Ooh.
you mind me go?
Get it hot. Oh my goodness.
okay.
We can go to the next.
Let's just close the loop on that, okay? I feel like it really dialogue, because I feel like sometimes, like, they have their stuff always together, they're running with it, and they're just kind of like on track, and we just kind of do our own thing. We're talking, we're running, you know, we might be a little more expressive or whatever. I ain't selling you out. I'm selling you out.
No, I agree with you because I always feel like black women always got their shit together. Like,
Yeah, I feel like
That's dangerous. That's what I'm talking about. It's a black excellence thing, and that's dangerous to be like, oh, black women as a whole always have their stuff together. Like, that's not fair. It's because when are they allowed to break?
Right.
because you don't view them as the people that they are. Yes, they have their stuff together, but that don't mean that they ain't going through stuff.
That's what I'm saying.
So you gotta be careful
Let
of
us
that.
know.
And then also takes a dialogue. Like, I'm not sure if I'm 100%, like, she might be performing, I hear you, but she's not. Like, well, let's be
Oh, okay, go ahead, Space.
I don't know.
No, go ahead, Love.
It's not when you said it.
It's all right. It's all right.
Is she doing that because, like, the strong black woman archetype, like, as she
but like, look, all I'm saying is this: when we look at that situation, Tory Lanez is like, that's the most dismanliest thing you could do. But when I look at her situation, yeah, she gave us that black bias of like black woman acting up. But then for her to bounce back and still doing what she's doing, that shows the strength in a black woman. I mean, like, it's a lot of problems like this. Like, when you go back home with families and all that stuff, people have altercations like that all the time. But what I want to take from it is like try, how can you make that negative into a positive, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, so like when you said like, oh, she was it's not like it's not a point where, oh, she wasn't that hurt. It's more like, well, was she like, why did she feel the need to do that? I feel like, is that kind of
yeah, like she
bounced,
I mean, like, if I was to get shot in the foot, like,
yeah, you're not performing for but that's another problem. I feel like the jump to the demonization of the other person, like the huge jump instead of like maybe a misquote or a misunderstanding. Like I get that, like, so like maybe you just misunderstood what I said. It's like a huge cop out, but like sometimes I feel like there might be like a mixed message there, and I feel like that's kind of where the disconnect between
that's where
black men and black women might come from. Like, because like you're like, as a black woman, you're like, you protect yourself. Like that's like, you're used to that. And you have to, because like you got assault on both ends. You're black and you're a woman, and that's like never gonna change it. It's intersectional. Like you can't, you know, your race is gender. Your sex, like, you know, but like I don't like it. It's just confusing to where like, where does the conversation, like, where can we have a conversation where we can just get that? Like,
what's the next question?
It's not gonna get answered, but I'm just saying.
I'll let Stacey say something and then I'll move on.
Like, I was just gonna say that I think a dialogue, of course, is important, but I feel like the first step is just respecting black women on just a human, just as human beings, like, as the first part, because like Megan Thee Stallion, there's really no reason first that she should have got shot, but also that like people on Twitter were like making fun of her trauma, and also that like he made a whole album about it and people are supporting it and plugging it. Or just like over the summer, like with that a black woman was thrown in a trash can, another black woman was like hit in the face with a skateboard. Like these are just constant things that happen. And I feel like it all boils down to like not respecting black women just as human beings. And also like the angry black woman stereotype kind of plays into that, because like people think we're so strong and like we don't have feelings or get hurt. But I think before we can even have an effective dialogue, like there's just that respect that needs to happen. And also, y'all can like come to the Black Women's Panel that's happening on November 5th, because we're gonna be talking about we're gonna be talking about Black women experiences. So you know, if y'all want to be educated, then there's that too.
You said you wanted to be an ally.
Yeah, what day is that? Is it on a Saturday or Sunday?
It's not the next Thursday, but the next Thursday.
We actually might have a game on Thursday. So,
Well,
Nice.
y'all
What
can
is it?
watch the recording after.
It's November 5th.
Mhm.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Yeah, we post all these, so you can see it later
yeah,
too.
we'll watch it. Yeah.
Well, to move right along, as it pertains to women, this is a question from people, not us. Why do you think there's a stereotype that black football players date white women? And if you don't think that's a stereotype, or if you don't think that's true, then why do you think it's a stereotype?
Was this a question for us? Or is it for us?
Academically, like, looking at the academic point of view from like what I've learned a lot, like, from whoever taught me this, but it just goes down to like the patriarchy system and the gender and beauty ideals that have been structured within our society. And when a black person may view success the way ever he viewed it, maybe that aligned with his beliefs, but I don't think that necessarily it's a stereotype that I see within my own peers or even within myself. I can see just because of the way the media portrays however white women are, whatever beauty or that is within our society, and that's it. You know.
And let me clarify. I'm at SMU.
Oh, SMU, that's a stereotype within SMU.
Yeah.
I don't see that within SMU because I haven't seen any one of my black athletes date another person on our student body that was white.
Well, it's, okay, look like this is like, I feel like that's also like at the end of the day, it's a stereotype, just like the mad black woman thing. Like,
but sometimes stereotypes stem from like a
it stems from the truth.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, everybody's like, you have to have a bias. Like, the difference is like that's a connection. But at the end of the day, it's like I know for me, personal experience, I'm a chameleon. Like I moved around so much as a kid. Like I adapt to where I'm at. If there's like a certain number of people in any demographic demographic there, then that's how I adapt. That's just where I am.
The stereotype is like this.
Well,
For a black man, honestly, for a black man, I feel like if I was to pursue a white woman, I only want to do it because she's going to do whatever I want to do. A black woman
Oh, you
is
getting
going
down
to
to the
kill
nitty-gritty. Oh, he said it.
Yes.
Honestly, I concur with that because I feel like a lot of black men that date white women date them because they know they can do whatever they want. Not
Yeah.
necessarily whatever they want, but it's just like
You
a
go to
black
black
woman's
women,
not gonna
like,
let you do whatever you
She's
want.
going
Like,
to stand her
Oh, you
ground.
just
So you think that's what's happening on SMU?
Yeah, I don't think it's like we want white women because they rich, they white, all that. Like, no, like, honestly, they cater to us.
That sounds like a power
In a way,
dynamic. I disagree with
it's
that. I think
like-
that's a specific type of person he's
Yeah, it's a person, but like,
like
that's
you
not
said, blackness is not a monolith. I get that stereotypes stem from truthfulness, but like, just because you see somebody with a certain person does not mean that that's like their stereotype.
So
Like,
you
that is
think
not
that it's
there.
mostly a
Like, now,
generalization?
if you exclude every other race but white women, like, then there's a problem. But if you're like, I don't know, for me, for example, I don't have a type. Like, if someone asks my type, I don't have them. If there's like a certain group of women that are more attractive, like, I feel like are more vocal or more like forthcoming to me than that. I mean, like, probability wise, that's just something really. Now, do I have like real relationships? No, since I've been on SMU, I can't really say that.
Yeah. Okay, so go ahead.
Sorry, this is recorded. This is.
He told on himself.
I'm not sorry. I'm being honest. This is
Yeah,
Thank
and
you.
it's not about you, it's about the questions. So.
All I wanted to say is I get we're all black here, I'm supporting this. If we want to say black is not a monolith, we can't be saying that white is a monolith or other races, okay? So, when you say like white girls come up, you can do like whatever you want. I mean, there are some strong, or I'm trying to think of the right word, driven, they know what they want, white girls out there too. I mean, I think that's a little bit of a joke.
I don't want to, like, I didn't want to put it as a clear statement, but like, in the stereotype, that's like within
Yeah.
the stereotype.
You're saying you
But
think
we're
that's why
trying
that's
to
happening?
break, if we're trying to break one stereotype, hey, our SMU football players aren't only dating white women.
I don't believe that, first off.
I know. I'm saying we're trying to break that stereotype, right? So we can't just allow this other stereotype. These white women at SMU are just trying to get a Mrs. degree with the football player or whoever is trying to look, get their little taste of chocolate or whatever. We can't be having that stereotype standard at the same time. You feel me?
I feel you better say.
I don't know.
Okay, so you guys are saying that it's not true that SMU football players like generally date white women.
Is it generally
That
or
is not
explicitly?
I think it's just
Like,
accessibility. I think
what
And they're saying it's
Look,
accessible.
hold on.
accessibility, like where
No,
you're
say, but they're
surrounded
trying to treat the
by.
kids as
Because like if you say,
That's not how it
say
works.
for example, if you went to a predominantly black school, you'd see more people dating black girls or whatever. So it's just like what you're surrounded by. If you're surrounded by the most, you're like Ross said, you're gonna like adapt to it and just naturally go to that person or whatever. I mean, so at the end of the day, you're starting to mix like attraction towards people, not necessarily race. I mean, if you want to look at it race and color, then that's your problem. But
So you're saying it's just that there's more white girls here,
Yeah.
therefore, okay.
I just
I
not
say
everybody
20% of
has
they white girls.
implicit biases. That's just what it comes down to at the end of the day. And that's just something that, as a person, if you want to grow as an individual and be more open-minded, that's something that you just have to let go and educate yourself about. Like, it's just, yeah.
Okay. Atipa, did you, because I saw you almost have something to say.
No.
That's fine.
Like, we're having real honest conversations, like, I get it, and like, me as myself, like, I had the connotation of like, Oreo, or like, oh yeah, you only mess with this certain demographic of women, but that's just like, I never understood why, and it explicitly came from black women, and that always bothered me, because growing up and like, knowing everything, and like, I grew up reading like the autobiography of Malcolm X, I grew up reading, like, I grew up watching Fred Hampton with my mom. I grew up with all that stuff, and like for it to be explicitly black women saying these things about me, kind of just like, I'm not gonna lie, I guess this is gonna sound, but it did hurt my feeling. It hurt. Like at the end of the day, it did hurt, and like to be excluded from somebody that you like, that looks like you before they even talk to you.
Yeah. I mean, I would say I would have been like, yeah, I would agree with that stereotype as someone on the whole outside.
I got a question.
What's up? Go ahead.
How do y'all feel about that stereotype?
That's what I'm
Well,
I mean, I'll let them go first.
she just said she agreed.
I would have said on the outside, generally, I would have been like, yeah, I've experienced that. And I wouldn't have said it as like a, yeah, you only date, like, I wouldn't have done that. But I've experienced on SMU's campus as a black woman being not an option. Like, being someone who's like passed over. And then white women being like, oh, yeah, let me go talk to her. And it's like, but why? Like, that's the stereotype I've experienced specifically from athletes. But I didn't say, I wouldn't say that it's true because I would never know. But like, yeah.
I'm not doing the same thing. I'm on the same thing with time. Like, I used to think that stereotypes was just because it happened to me before. Like, this guy, I thought we were feeling it, but it was just, wow. And the next thing you know, the white girl comes over, and now he's all over her. I'm like, damn, what the fuck was wrong? Sorry, what
Yeah, and I would say like, even at like, it started my freshman year at parties, and I was just like, this is something I'm noticing, and that's fine, but okay, interesting.
I think black girls though, going back to like the beauty standards that society's given us is that we compare ourselves. It's because I have braids, I have big lips, like this is my body shape, and you have blonde hair, straight blonde hair, you have, you know, you go outside and you tan, you know, like you compare yourself. And if that is what the beauty standard is, I'm always going to be comparing myself to that. And when you guys are attracted to the beauty standard, then I'm going to feel like shit, I'm not good enough, I'm not at the standard. And I think a part of that is that when you see a black man going for a white girl, it's like, oh, what do I need to do to be hers? Because that's clearly what's attractive.
Yeah.
And I think it's in the sense of like, it's a bit of both in the sense of black girls, you need to learn to like love yourself more, because one type of body type and one person is not the beauty standard. And you can be beautiful in like any type of way. And just because a man is attracted to something does not mean you're not beautiful, or you're less beautiful. If all of you guys decide to date white girls, I'm not going to be out here going like, oh my goodness, now I need to straighten my hair, I need to start bleaching my skin. No! You'll see me out here with my kinky hair, and I will be rocking it proud, because that's my beauty standard. And I think black girls sometimes compare themselves to white girls, especially when SMU is predominantly white girls, and you compare themselves like, they have this and they look like this must be what's attractive. But it's a sense of, no, you gotta remember that that's not the standard.
But I would say like, if all the guys in you were dating white women, I would not be like, okay, it's something with me, but I would just be like, that's interesting. Because we're surrounded by black women, but then you are attracted to, like, I don't know.
That'd be like, what do you have that I don't?
Yeah, and I don't know if it would be against the
like
woman, but
looking
just
at them,
be like,
looking at
what
men.
is that?
It's like looking at the guy, like what's wrong, like
Yeah.
what's your problem with you?
No, what's your problem? Yeah, I'm just like, okay, like,
Right.
You know,
what's going on?
I think from both sides, you got to break from the conditioning that you've received as from a child. Like you hit on the nail talking about beauty standards. See, like for me, like I grew up in an entire like white community. Like I was the only black kid in my schools. My whole family's white, other than like Coach Silas, because I was adopted. So it's like breaking from that conditioning of just like viewing people for their color or other aspects like that, and actually diving down into like who they are as a person, you know. And that's where both sides of this matter of this stereotype of is it bad, is it whatever, just needs to be broken. And to seeing them as just with somebody, not really just somebody of a certain color or whatnot, and like look at them and think something's wrong with me. It's just like that's not the person for me then, or whatever that is. But when it stems from them being, oh, I only date this race or this and that, that's where the problem lies. Because they're not doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah.
And then maybe in a sense that because they're a black man who feels subjugated by our societies and stuff, but then looks at this beauty ideal as like a safe haven because, oh, I'm successful now, I can attract the beauty standard, but is that beauty standard only coming to you because of your status now and
Good.
whatnot?
Yes.
Or is it for like the right reasons?
Was that what you were gonna say?
Because that person is actually actively seeking out like this beauty standard for acceptance in society, maybe within himself, or just thinking like it's a way that he made it, you know what I'm saying? Because white women are like projected as being pretty or beautiful or anything. You search a beautiful girl on Google and it'll be hard to find a black girl while you're searching down for a long time. And that's a problem. And if a black kid is growing up his whole life viewing that, you never had a conversation with me, you don't know what my perspective is on anything, and how are you going to judge me based upon whatever my action is. You don't know where I came from, how I grew up, what was around me, what I'm comfortable with, what I'm used to. But like breaking free of that conditioning, like mindset, like that isn't an excuse that really you can use in a sense. Just like, oh, I don't know where, like you don't know where I came from and stuff. Because like wherever you came from shouldn't shape you entirely for who you are today, like where you're standing. You should always try to find new information and learn how to better yourself. So I don't know. Yeah, I don't think it's acceptable to have those closed-minded mindsets.
I think social media, especially when it's a big role in that, especially TikTok. You know, it's supposed to be TikTok is supposed to be a lot of stuff. You see those videos with guys like black girl, white girl, or they have the black girl, white girl, and all that white girl. It's like that doesn't help either. Like, yeah.
So I would say, so you're basically saying that the stereotype isn't true. It's specifically within the athletic community.
Yeah.
The stereotype as like
As
but then like
No.
to group
No.
as a group,
Okay.
no. But like, there is guys that say that certain stuff. Like,
Yeah,
but
but you were saying majority,
a
no.
majority, no.
Okay.
Well, yes, but
LOL. You just have to make a second one.
No,
It
yes,
was
we
fast.
no, we did. Like,
Okay.
Okay.
Do you think that the athletic community is accepting towards the LGBTQ plus movement?
Ooh, I would answer that one.
Go ahead.
Honestly, they don't. Okay. Did they talk about it? No. Honestly, I don't feel like there's enough outline training either. Like, I hear, like, some of the ignorant stuff that I hear about some of the sexualities within the LGBTQ stuff is so hurting. Like, that's not a word, but so, it hurts. And it's like, I feel like with there being, CIT training, there should also be ally training within that. Because even for, like, as a woman, it's easier, to come out as, bisexual, lesbian, because it's just more accepted in the community. But I feel bad for guys because if, like, I don't know how you guys are, but I've seen a lot of, guys that come out, as a sports player, and the whole team just dismisses them. Like, they won't shower in front of them. Like, that guy, if that guy won you, like, I'm pretty sure that he, of course, he's a teammate, there's boundaries, and there's respect that goes into it. But I feel like as the SMU community, no, but that's something that I'm going to push for. Like, that's something, because I do want to see a push for that. Because I don't see it now, but hopefully soon it will start to get better. And I don't mean just from the staff, I mean from the whole, everybody too.
Yeah. So you mentioned, like, basically, it's harder for a guy to come out. Possibly, yeah. So what do y'all think?
I think that's super hard.
I think a lot of gay guys too, I've read articles about this before, within football, that they use football kind of as their beard in a sense, like to kind of like hold it all in for the amount of time that they're playing football. Then after, then they could like come out and come to peace with their mind and who they are. And I think it'd be very difficult with the nature of just the sport of football itself right now to even allow that. We've seen it happen multiple times within football, and those people immediately get ostracized and cut from the football team.
So what about your team?
Well, that's what I'm saying about football. I think that it would be accepted. However, I don't know how
It would be pioneer.
It would be definitely a pioneer within the whole entire sport. You know what I'm saying? It's a very sexist sport. It's a very misogynistic sport.
If there was a gay guy on my team,
toxic
I don't even think we
masculinity, all
would
that.
know.
You're saying you
They probably wouldn't.
It wouldn't, I don't know right now that they would say something, and that's just like, that's not because like they think we might do anything, or like because specific guys on the team are outwardly super like homophobic or anything like that. I think it's just like, who wants to be the first to do something? Like you don't know what's gonna come with that risk. You don't know what's gonna happen. Like that fear of the unknown. Like when we started going to the protests and stuff like that, like we were like, maybe if the coaches don't like this, like, am I gonna be able to play? Am I still gonna be in the team? Am I gonna be able to go to camp? You don't know. Like, so I feel like maybe that person, I mean, there probably is a person on the team that's gay, like, but we wouldn't know.
even know.
See, like, to me too, it's an interesting aspect of it too, because like football, people like to weave it into their personality so much, like kind of view themselves as a football player. Me personally, I don't like to say like I'm a football player. That's not who I am. Whenever I step out practice or on the game field, that's like an alter ego in a sense. You know what I'm saying? That's not really who I am stepping out there. So for someone to come out as gay and then play football, I could see that. And I would be in full support of that. And I see the trend within just our society that becoming a more prominent thing. And because I don't view myself as a football player, you know, like, but I play the sport because I'm good at it or that I like doing it or whatever. And then after I step off that field, I'm who I am after that. So
I think one of the differences is like belonging to the LGBTI plus community is like Q plus, yeah, sorry, but yeah, that's embarrassing. But I'm saying like that's part of your identity. Like is it not like that's like, you know, that's interwoven into your identity. So like you like you're saying like they can't separate themselves like as like, you know, as a football player, like, you know, you're saying, but like that's like who they are, and they just want they want to be accepted, and like if they don't feel that way, like I would like implore them, like even if they're watching this or something like that, like I would implore them, like find somebody to talk to on the team, like talk to one of us or someone like that, because like they know who the supporters are, like the outwardly supporters, the outward, yeah, well,
No,
yeah, but
sorry.
They know who the outward supporters are, and like we're always talking about how we can be more inclusive, how we can like, hey, does anybody feel uncomfortable in the situation we create? Like obviously, like sometimes football is like an overly like toxically masculine place to be, and that's like, yeah. I mean, I don't know, like, yeah, but you can make it, you can take away the misogynistic, sexist part of football, and it can still be incredibly toxically masculine. You're not gonna show when you're hurt, you're not gonna show when you're this, you're not gonna show when you're that. And like all those stereotypes attributed to like the gay man, like he might not feel like that's like the place for him to come out. He might not feel like that's the place for him to be himself. And I feel like if we knew that, I don't think the team would have an adverse effect to that, especially if there's a couple of guys that he knows he can talk to, there's a couple of guys who he knows he can go to. I think, you know, like as a collective, as a team, we would stand up behind him. That's like 100%. We're so like we're close knit, and for someone to be gay and us like to not even like, I mean, at this point, not even know to be this, yeah, you wouldn't care.
How about the community? Okay, that's the
yeah. You'd be like,
one of the things that like I have like I'm interested in seeing how the SMU community would react to that, even though we've seen the split within the Methodist Church because of this and like the positive effects that came from it. However, like just when it brings it to athletics and whatnot, like we've seen how the media misconstrues like everything that goes on with it, hence why people have been ostracized from the league when coming out. But I would be interested in seeing how the SMU community would handle that, like with sport like football.
I think you make a very good point of like being a pioneer, because I feel like athletes, like sports in general, overall, like even since the civil rights movement, like people don't understand the impact that it had, you know, within the civil rights movement. Just because you see, you know, black and white men playing together, and you know, not being racist, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter about your color. It's about, you know, winning, right? And say, for instance, there was a gay, you know, a gay down team, and you guys, you know, supported that. That could be a big turn, you know, just for like the whole nation as a whole. Like if you guys see a lot more of that, because I think it takes, you know, seeing rather than having your own implicit ignorant thoughts about it. And I think that could go like a long way, especially with, you know, fans, like especially children. Like I hate when people be like, I don't want my, you know, children around them because I don't want them to, you know, to turn out again. I'm like, you sound stupid.
Yeah, like nobody's straight because they're watching straight people on TV. Yes. You know what I'm saying? Like, did that make you any more straight than it made me? Like, you know?
And people don't realize this wasn't a choice. Like I kept it in for so long, you know, being bisexual because I was so afraid of how people perceive it and me not getting a job and everything like that. And it's like, it's not like people don't understand this. It's not a choice. Like. It's not. I mean, the choice of coming out to everybody, but me being bisexual, it's not. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I can agree with that. It's also just like accepting with yourself. Like once you accept it within yourself, you're more comfortable and confident to do it like out with other people. Because for me personally, like I'm also bisexual, and like I wasn't comfortable doing like being open about that with my team because I didn't know how they received it. Because like coming from such a liberal place like Oregon and then moving to a Bible Belt state like Texas, you don't know how people are gonna accept you, regardless of your school, like in the world. Like when you go out to the street or like go get food, like people see you and you're just, and like I'm not saying oh, I'm gonna be out here like oh hey blah 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 like just like the way you carry yourself, how you dress, when you go on your talk, that type of stuff. It's just like, but like once you do find that inner peace within yourself, it's just like even if other people do have a bias about it, you don't care because like at the end of the day, you're not trying to please those people. You're not pleasing yourself. So it's just like as long as you know who you are on the inside and like what you stand for, what you believe in, and like whatever else people are gonna say about you, they're gonna say it. But it's not really. If you let it affect you, then you got more inner work to do with yourself. But at the end of the day, if you love yourself for who you are, then
Be educated about something to conquer that ignorance. And I think that'd be awesome.
Because the thing that we do in the summer, how we get the athletes in, you know, how we talk about all those different stuff, that would be the time to talk about that too, like, yeah,
that'd be like a good idea. And we should actually bring that up to Rick because
It's gonna be talked about.
yeah, no, I mean it has to be.
Yeah.
But like that's like go back to your question. It was like how are they received? I think on the football team they'd be received as who they are. We've been playing with it for so long. Why would this one thing change it at all? Like I mean,
Yeah, well, like, that's good to hear. That's similar to what the Greek life panel said. But anyways, there's 2 more questions. If you could say one thing to the SMU administration and they actually heard you and acted on it in that moment, what would it be?
what question, please?
If you could tell the SMU admin one thing and they did it and actually heard you, what would it be? Like, this is a question stemming off of like the demands that have been made, the response that's been given, that whole thing. But specifically for athletes, what would you tell the SMU admin to do? It doesn't have to be for athletes, but I'm asking specifically y'all. Yeah.
What I've been talking about from like the beginning of all this, like with my peers and stuff, is just really giving the opportunity to be able to get into some of those pivotal rooms where these conversations are being had, like with some powerful people, because we know our administration has a lot of connections within Dallas and within even the nation, you know what I'm saying? We've seen his dealings within, like, at Ole Miss with the flag and whatnot. So it's like, I want to be able to have conversations with these type of people, like the mayor or whatnot, and like see what we can do within these minority communities or urban communities within the city of Dallas, because we're a prominent part of the city of Dallas, being in Highland Park. So being able to get in those rooms and have these conversations and find out what is possible, what's not possible, and how we can move forward.
You know, I 100% agree.
Come on, Buck, will you?
Yes, sir.
SMU is going to be, I guess, Dallas's team. Yeah, I mean, I know that you guys are taking it on. I'm happy about it. I love the Triple D. I love the logos across the city, seeing like where our players are from, to represent their hometowns. But if we're going to pull these players athletically and like benefit, the university benefits in that way, what are we pouring into those same communities?
Yeah.
Are we putting the same academic talent from those areas? Are we like really investing in our own backyard? And also like some of the programs that we are, I guess, instilling. I mean, I guess this isn't exactly an athletic thing, but through like my scholarship program, like they allowed us to, all like the finalists came in for like a dinner or whatever. And that was a really cool event. But as I walked through the whole thing, I eventually slowly realized it's like there are white people, maybe Hispanic, or a few Hispanics, and like some brown, Middle Eastern, the demographics goes on and on. I was the only black person there until like dinner, and then one brother shows up late. He's at my table and dinner. He's like, I had other stuff to do, but we figured it out. I was like, okay, there's 2 black people here, and we're both here, so go figure. That aside, they pull so much from us athletically. I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a benefit, but I don't want there to be like that. The way that diversity comes through SMU is through athletics. Like how we were talking about, like half of the black people, I don't know if it's half, but a good percentage of it is through like our athletes. Even though I came here as through academics, I still came like I love tennis, so I was like, I want to be an athlete. And I didn't know, like going through that experience, like interacting with professors, interacting with just the public, and like realizing like, oh, you're a tennis player, you're an athlete, but not a typical team, but like going through that balance of like, what are you, where you fit in? It's just like, that shouldn't be the case, because like we're saying, we're not a monolith. So we shouldn't be recruiting Black people or minorities in general through like specific avenues. There needs to be more diversity in how we are brought to the school, so that way that monolith isn't like you, if that makes sense.
Definitely
So,
more Black.
if we're going to put up these billboards, which I feel like is a great idea, do not take this as kill the billboards. I love the billboards, they need to stay. But those same schools that were saying, oh, he's from Mesquite, oh, he's from DeSoto, oh, he's from Duncanville, oh, he's from Oak Cliff. Okay, what are we doing to either pull from those schools or get those schools up to par so that way you can pull from them, if that makes
It's
sense?
like do just as much as you're doing athletically. Like
Yeah.
even if they're doing, like they might be doing something right now, but is it enough?
Should be a threat.
Like it should be more. Like you're like,
Well, they're an institution, they're a school, okay? So if you're saying like, hey, that high school has students that we want to pull from, they should be like academic, we should be able to pull like a regular student like we pull an athlete, right? It shouldn't be like, oh, we'll go here, but only because like they'll help us in football. And like, since they're good at football, we'll help them get up to speed, we'll get the tutors and everything. I understand, like that's an athletic benefit, like it's
But
a
they're
give
not
and
doing
take.
that for academics.
But it's
They're
not
only
like
doing
they're
that
not
because it's
athletes
happening.
any more or less capable in the classroom at least. So like what are we doing if we really want to see this direct, if we really want to see these numbers get up, which I mean they did say through Buck they want to see the numbers get up, then I don't think we have to go across the country per se, even though we are private, we do pull from I guess various states and everything to get us here. I feel like there's a lot of talent in our backyard, in our state, that I'd like to challenge and encourage SMU to accept and move forward, and hopefully we're able to pull a little bit more and defend our home turf, if that makes sense.
yeah, well,
I
SMU
feel like-
does have like those theater schools like in other states, like where it's like academically like, oh, this many people go to SMU every year. And like, is that kind of what you're saying to do for the communities in our backyard? Like I don't know, like I was talking to somebody who was from Massachusetts, like, oh, well, 3 people go to SMU every year from my high school, like it's just like a thing. And I was like, that's the weirdest thing I ever
We got
heard.
so many people from California.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, I feel like what you're trying to say is like we need more Black people here, other than athletes. And well, you gotta think about the other side of it. Like a lot of people want to come here as white people, and yeah, it's expensive too. Like
You got like gate around it. It's a metaphorical.
it's
gate.
small, and like to be honest with you, I don't know if I would have came here if I was a regular
Yeah,
student.
I would not be here if it was not for scholarship.
It's the
And I
truth.
think they do. I mean, I know that's the case for most of us too, but
Yeah.
you're basically saying like decolonize your institution, like like that's what it sounds like to me. Like lower tuition, raise Black enrollment, like actually make this a university for everyone and not for white elite society. I mean,
I feel like it's just in this Mockingbird place.
Yeah, be more
Yeah.
progressive into a hunt for Black talent. Like don't be passive. Like if you're gonna do this, provide those scholarships. If you don't want to lower tuition, give them a bigger scholarship. Like widen that. Like you know what I'm saying? Like make it more appealing to this demographic of people. But like, yeah, but I would say like to the administration, it's like I don't know, going like being at like a bunch of colleges where my dad was at, and like hearing all these stories. I would say like due process in like certain cases, and I've seen it predominantly affect athletes and Black men. Like, I've seen guys get kicked out of school for stealing a sandwich, like not reprimanded, but gone. Like kicked out of school for stealing a sandwich. Like oh, he took a backpack, he's gone. Like stupid stuff like that, where the teacher believing oh he couldn't have written that essay on his own. He's bounced. Like I think that there needs to be a longer, there needs to be a due process. It needs to be inquisitive, and it needs to be like factual. We need to, instead of like seeing this guy as guilty already, or even if he is guilty, like does this punishment fit the crime? Like quit being so like same thing we're seeing in the judicial system right now. Does the punishment fit the crime? Like if it's not a fair punishment, if it's not like, you know, an arduous process to find, like, what's the point of guilt? What are you doing? Like, you're at fault there.
Yeah.
I would say fix that.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, that's all the questions I have. Did y'all have any other questions that I missed? Because we talked about it. No?
I know you got one.
Come on.
You look like
Hmm?
You say you look like
Mira?
You look like
No.
Anything
I
that
don't.
you would say that you want on camera, like I said that when the chance arose.
I don't have one.
Like, is there anything else that you'd like to say?
Or to talk about.
Or talk
While
about?
we're on.
Yeah.
Diversity does not equal inclusion.
Okay. Yes, sir.
That's it.
Expound.
Not expound.
What do you mean?
I just mean, like, just because you have people here does not mean you're including them. Just because you have like people from different marginalized communities does not mean that you're supporting the people from those marginalized communities. And if you're not doing that, you're not helping anything. If you're not hearing me unheard, like, you're faking it. It smells performative. Like, quit that. That's at the end of the day, like, if it's not about solidarity with people who aren't being heard, you're not being an ally. You're not being the institution that's a world changer. Like, are you really changing the world, or are you just saying that?
Right, yeah. Yeah, it's like show up. Don't just talk about it, but show up. Like actions speak louder than words, honestly. Especially now, in this day and age. You have to show up. Vote.
Say it.
You gotta vote and like just do it, you know what I mean? Like be the change you want to see in the world. Yeah.
I think Abina brought up like a good point, like a last protest. Yeah, also sometimes she spoke some good stuff too. But Abina, she brought up the fact of how they'll pat you on the back, tell you, we hear you, we're so proud of you, speaking up. We're so glad for you, that blah blah blah. But then after like 4 years after you graduate, then it reverts back to the same cycle. Like,
And look, it's like when we talked about, again, it's a war. And it's like, it's a long war, and we all want change. And at the end of the day, I feel like everybody should learn themselves and who they really want to be and what they stand for. Like you said, both. What I took from this, like coming here, like when you told me to come, I was really like, I wasn't really feeling it. But like, I felt like I needed to be here. Like, it's great to be around people with different backgrounds and different